Welcome to Deal Talk. My name is Jeffrey Veit, and the Deal Talk podcast is going to talk about avoiding dealer tricks and buying smart so that you save big when you purchase a car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and motorhome. We're going to do it just like we do every week. We cover some of the automotive news, too, while we're at it. Trying to stay on top of things, especially the electric vehicle market, which you see a lot in the news about that right now. They're trying to pass a law. They got a bill in Congress that they're trying to get through that would give incentives to people that purchase electric vehicles. Of course, you have to owe enough tax to take advantage of the incentive. And then when they're thousands overpriced, that's not going to make enough difference, but it makes an unfair press on people to do it. And then they're going to find out later, whoops, I shouldn't have done it. And they're doing everything that's just not right. It's just not right that they would get this involved with the market. I know that that's what happened to the car business right after World War II. The government got involved, and then car dealers' reputations went right out the window. The car market went absolutely nuts, sort of like it is now. You know, they had started putting government controls on pricing, and dealers would sell you a car, but then you had to buy the guy's tie for $3,000 or something. It was really goofy stuff going on. But anyway, this week in EV Corner, which has become a listener's favorite, we're going to talk about just a couple of things quickly. Are you aware that EVs weigh much more than fossil fuel vehicles? That an electric vehicle comparable to a gas model weighs anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pounds more. It's heavier because of the battery. On a Tesla, the battery can weigh as much as 1,000 pounds, making the current weight on a Tesla almost 2.5 tons, almost 5,000 pounds. So what, you say? So what? Let me tell you, weight has a big effect. Harder to stop. That's why you notice that a lot of the crash test results show that electric vehicles took 12, 14 feet farther to stop. Well, that doesn't sound like much unless you're in a tight situation. Think of the close calls you've had. And what about energy consumption? If the vehicle weighs more, it uses more gas, more energy. They use more of their own power. What about the wear? If a vehicle weighs more, doesn't it wear more on the suspension and the tires and all those things and the brakes? Of course it does. That's something they don't tell you about, though, do they? Another one worth mentioning today is repair difficulty. If you own an electric car, you can forget going to the local shop for fixing it inexpensively. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Maybe to change a light bulb or something. But it's generally electric, it's not going to. Regardless of the type and the model, all electric vehicles require specific maintenance and service procedures, as well as extremely high safety standards. Also, servicing electric cars can be quite dangerous. I remember working for Apple that when they had to have a special suit on when they took a lithium battery out of a phone. Look how little that is because of the dangers of it. Yeah, they're quite dangerous. Most of the car's mechanics consist of battery packs under high voltage. Also, in case of a fire, you can't just put out a battery fire from one of those batteries with water. No, you have to have a special fire extinguisher. And since the batteries burn much hotter, the fire spreads much quicker. They don't tell you about that either, do they? Nope. Do you have a special fire extinguisher in your house? Well, you want to have. Will the fire truck big one if you had a fire? I don't know, will they? Having an electrical charging station at your house is a reason to be nervous, especially around a family area like a garage. You want your kids playing around all those electric cables? No thanks. That's why they don't have gas stations at people's houses and gas pumps. It's not safe. What if there's a fire? Batteries burn so much hotter. It's just a whole nother story that they don't tell you. That's just another one of our, we have over 30 reasons not to buy an electric vehicle. I mean, our own government's trying to push them down our throat because they got this Green New Deal that's ridiculous. It's because they own stock in the companies, and they're actually going to pass bills to make the stock go up so they make more money when it's not going to make any difference in terms of climate change. It's not going to make one iota difference because, first of all, the only country doing it's the U.S., and it's only a small portion of the world. Second of all, it doesn't make much difference. That's not really where climate change is coming from. Most of climate change is coming from Mother Nature. The Earth is doing it. Of course, they don't want to talk about that either. No. Have you ever seen a government that hid more from the public? That pushed more on the public? No, it's crazy. Anyway, there's a couple of more reasons to put under your belt why electric vehicles aren't what you want. If you like the show, please take a couple of minutes and do a review on iTunes or Google Play, whichever one you use. If you've already done a review, thank you very much. Don't forget to tell your friends and relatives about the podcast. They'll save dollars, and you'll be a hero. Every single time. Everybody benefits from the podcast to some degree. Some more than others, but everybody benefits some. And I don't know how you like, I get into this talk about electric vehicles. I've only had positive comments about it from people that thanking me for coming up with the information. And you can't help but getting a little into politics over it because it's become so ridiculous how they're shoving these things down the public's throat. And it's a bad investment. It's not a good vehicle to begin with. It's not a good reason. And they're priced thousands more that you don't have, or the average person doesn't have. Those of you who'd like some written material to carry with you around shopping, don't forget, get a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon, Kindle, or Barnes & Noble Nook. They give you the basics to have with you in case you're out, so you don't forget something. It's $3. Spend the $3. If it was blank when you got it, you would have given me $3, right? Well, no, actually, it won't give me about 75 cents because there's all the other people to get their money from putting out the booklet. But I don't put it out for the money. I put it out to help. Believe it or not, I actually do this. I play it forward. You don't hear any ads on this show. I could run some. I'll tell you. There's some good companies out there. I'll tell you. I told you about the mattress people, how they took care of me. There's some other good ones out there that take care of people. No question about it. But I don't get into it because, I don't know. I just want to play it forward. I just want to help. I know we've talked about timing before, but it's an important subject, especially now. When's the right time to buy? I'm talking about what month or day, what season, what time of the day, what's the best choice of every time consideration? Does timing make any difference? Does it matter when you go in to buy? And if and when it matters, does location have anything to do with it? Does it matter where you live, along with the timing? Does the seller's calendar make any difference? What's going on in their head and their business? Does that matter in your deal? What are all the timing possibilities? Any little bit that gives you an advantage is a good thing. Anything that you can put in your court is good. The more ammunition you have, the better off you are. It's worth thinking about every single thing. Let's break it down in segments, though. First, yearly timing. What time of year is the best time to buy? In the north, obviously, wintertime can motivate a dealer for a couple of reasons. One's because people are staying home. It's cold. I used to live in the north, in central New York. I want to tell you, in January and February, it's stinking cold. It's not even snowy, fluffy, riding your sled or your snowmobile. Nope, it's just dirty, rotten cold. Another would be after a snowstorm or during a really cold period. In-store traffic's way down. People don't go out. When it gets that cold, they just hang at the house. The holidays like Christmas slow down big purchases. They do. Christmas slow them down. People got other stuff on their mind. So that's a factor as well. Some years, I can remember a couple of Christmases where it wasn't too bad, but generally speaking, people are thinking about other stuff then. And so if a dealer gets a chance to sell a vehicle, they're a little extra motivation. Sometimes multiple factors hit at the same time, and that can multiply the dealer's desire to make you feel even like you get an unbelievable deal. The month of February is an example of that. The holidays just ended. It's really stinking cold in the north, right? It's also short. It's 28 days. 29 once in a while, but 28 days. So their bills, their monthly quota of what they owe and what they have to pay is spread over 28 days, not over 30 or 31. Well, it's only 2 or 3 days difference, but that's 10%. The dealer's pressed to make more deals. No question about it. You might think that means they need to make more per unit. No, that's not how it works. Actually, most dealers in the north will bend over backwards and fold on any reasonable offer to get a deal in the month of February. Just about any deal. Just about any deal. Any time after a big snowstorm is a good time. On a lesser scale, July and August can also be a good time to buy because people are vacationing. In the south, it's hot on the asphalt car lot. It can be 110 degrees on the asphalt. No kidding. No matter where you are in August, it's near the end of the model year and the inventories need to get cleared out. Usually the new models come out in September sometime. Not always, but mostly. In the South, right after thunderstorms or severe rain periods, it's good. Any super hot afternoon on a super hot day can be an advantage. When are you going to buy? Just stop and think for a minute. What are my advantages? Is now a good time to go? Or it's Tuesday morning and in July and you're thinking about buying a vehicle, and is it a good time to go? Or maybe I should go into that car lot in the afternoon when it's really stinking hot because there's nobody else will be there. There's nobody there. Everybody's inside if at all, right? After the holidays like New Year's week, people are recovering from the holiday expense and the stress, right? The holiday stress is over with and stuff. Yearly advantages are basic and easy to figure out if you stop and think about it. What about monthly timing? What about the time of the month? The last day of the month can be big, and we all know that. Everybody knows that. I'm going in there on the last day of the month because I got to meet their quotas. Most people are aware of that. Dealers have budgets and sales departments have goals, and many people have bonus levels, salespeople. So there's a lot of motivation on that last day of the month. Dealers have goals and budgets. February being 28 days, cold weather can be a winner for that reason alone, but the last day of the month, that's a really good choice. If you go in on February 28th and it's stinking cold in the Northeast, boy, that's got to be a great day to buy a vehicle, I'll tell you. You're going to work them over on price, that's the time. They're going to be patient with you, very patient. First day of the month can also be a good day, right? Most people don't think about it, but a lot of times the first day of the next month is actually the 32nd of the last month if they didn't quite hit their quota. Or a dealer might want to get off to a good start. It's still good. As far as weekly, I suggest going in on Tuesday or Wednesday, not the weekend. I know we always go out on the weekend. They got car ads running. You'll see ads in the paper, big color inserts and stuff. I know you think it's the time to go, but the hoopla is not there for your benefit. The weekend is not better. Look at almost every retail business. Tuesday is anticlimactic and Wednesday as well. I remember it when I worked for Apple for a while. Tuesday was like Deadville. It was dead. It was just slow. I mean, it's never really slow in an Apple store, but it was pretty slow then. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, those are the busiest days, and dealers aren't as hungry generally. You might hear about a sale on the radio or the TV or read about a sale in the newspaper, but it's always bull. The dealer, they use the weekend for sales. Those are the ads because that's when the people are out. That's when they're out shopping. In the automobile business, advertising seldom draws people out to buy something. It just directs the traffic that's already available and looking. So the dealers try to give you the reason to come into their store because they know most people are going to be out on the weekend because they're off work or they have time, they're not, they have the family out and they go out looking. And it's kind of a circle because the dealers will put ads out there thinking you're out there, and then you'll think, oh, it's a good time to go because there's ads, and, it's like a dog chasing its tail. I realize you might need a vehicle in the spur of the moment. You may not have any timing advantages when you're buying. That's okay. As long as you do the due diligence, that's nothing to worry about. Stick with techniques you have, but the advantages are there if you think about it, possibly. What about time of day? That's another one. Early morning, lunchtime, evening. Some people say late in the evening is the best time, but I don't agree with that. That's not true. Late in the evening, things get hurried, and all of the decision makers for the dealership aren't there. People shop it a lot in the evening, so dealers usually have a lot to choose from to make a deal as far as inventory, and they'll have a manager on and some salespeople, but it's not the same. I suggest going in the late afternoon on a weekday, Tuesday afternoon. All the factors needed are available from the boss to the bank, the used vehicle wholesaler if they need to shop your trade. Dealers are more flexible with rates when the bank or lending institution is open. Number one, they can get an exact answer on how you qualify. Don't have to worry about spot delivery. We've talked about that. Number two, they know that you can call and check on the stuff that they're telling you. In other words, you can call the bank and get your own rate while you're in there, right? And another reason is all the dealership's decision makers are there. So if it's a tough deal and you're working them close on the margin, they got people there to talk to about it. They don't have to wait and talk to the boss later. We talked about seasonal. We've talked about monthly. We've talked about time of day considerations. What about model year consideration? Do you go leftover or new model year? This year, there aren't many leftovers because of the supply and prices are crazy. So as far as timing right now, there isn't much in your favor. I say wait until the new regime, midterms, elections are over, and the new regime takes over because a lot of things are going to change dramatically because everything has gone wrong. The country's in shambles. It really is. And the people that voted for Biden, I don't know what they say to themselves, but most of them won't admit they voted for him. He's such a total wreck. Just wait until the midterms are over and things will get better. Some sort of normalcy, and then you'll be better off when it comes to these sorts of things. If you're leasing, leftovers are probably out of consideration. In fact, because of the over-sticker pricing right now, leasing is probably out of the plan because leasing companies won't finance more than the MSRP of the vehicle, maybe rust-proofing or some options, but generally the price of the vehicle. So if they're $2,000 or $3,000 over MSRP, you're going to have to pay that out of your pocket down. So leasing isn't going to work. Once the official model announcement day comes, residual values, the ending value on the lease, take a dive for the old model year, and then incentives sell to make up for the difference. I suppose it's possible, but not likely. In most markets, before the official new model announcement day, leasing a leftover will work, basically. Residuals won't have changed. But still, there's another downside to the leftover. Profit potential might not be as good at the end of the lease. You're ending your lease at the end of the model year. So when you come back in, it'll be the beginning of the model year for some other model. Instead of being a 3-year lease, it'll be a 4 years, though, in terms of model and trades. So it may not be the best opportunity there, but it's not really a factor now because they've shut that market down because of the shortage of vehicles. They've tied you up so you can only trade with a dealer a like dealer, like a Toyota can only go with a Toyota dealer. You can't sell it outright. So they've changed a lot of the rules, which I'm sure will change back after the shortage is over. But for right now, they've really put a hold on things. This all may drop by the wayside with the FTC doesn't help all of America. I don't know what they're doing. They've had plenty of time. Nobody wants to do anything anymore in the government. They just don't. They just don't care. If you're buying and keeping a unit a long time, then leftover is probably better because of less net dollars over time, right? But with normal trade cycles, depreciation is a factor in that question. So take 2 vehicles. One current model year, one leftover. The model year price is $31,000, and the leftover is, let's say, selling for $28,000 because it's a leftover. Same model, just a year apart. If the difference is greater than $2,000 or 8%, then the 1-year-old should be a better investment on a buy because of the initial money outlay, and there's less tax then, less interest, so that's probably a better buy. Let's say the new model year, as a trade value, it's going to be worth $11,500 5 years from now, and that's 35%, and the leftover is going to be worth 25% because it's a year older, it's going to be worth $8,500. You might say at the end, I'm going to get more for the current model year. Yeah, but the leftover is $3,000 lower resale for a 5-year value, but it saved you $3,000 in the initial price. You paid $3,000 less for it. So although it's going to be worth less, you paid less. And because you paid less interest and less sales tax. And so that's not quite so bad. It's actually still an advantage if you're apart by 8% or more. Every model line is different, but most will follow the same general pattern. If you can get 8 to 10% off, probably better to go with leftover if they have one that suits your need, color and option-wise. If you trade in 4 years, that might not be the case. They could be closer in value, and the new model year is probably better. But as you keep it longer, the leftover becomes a better value. So although you're going to say, well, the new one was worth more, and when I go to trade in 4 years, yeah, but you also paid more for it. And then as you keep it more than 4 years, it's going to spread that value difference over a larger period of time. So leftover is going to end up being a better deal. It's less than 10% off on the vehicle, 8 to 10%, well, then I would go with a brand new one. And on leasing, the residuals change. So if you're going to do leasing, once the model year is announced, you got to go with the model year because that's all based on payment and resale and residual value. So there's no way the leftover is going to be as good on the lease deal once the announcement date comes out. As far as upside down, aka minus equity, current model year versus the leftover, about the same if you saved 8 to 10%. No advantage there. Another fact is that the leftover could be a budget factor as well. Because it's less money and because you paid less sales tax, and you're going to end up paying less interest, it's also a lower monthly payment. That's a factor. I mean, you're getting less vehicle, but it's also lower monthly payment. The downside is the leftover has small selection. Not many left. When you go into the leftovers, there's only the leftovers, right? Option choices are limited for the same reason. Color choices are limited. Can't be so choosy and selective with the leftover, especially right now. Chances are the leftover represents a better value, assuming the model has not changed significantly. An oddity of the business is that if the model body design changes a lot, it affects the resale value of the leftover a little bit more, maybe another 5%, because it will noticeably older, and that often, bothers buyers. Like I said, major body styling changes affect resale. An alternative to both of these choices might be the almost new, the used vehicle. We talked about it many times. Almost new, buy versus a brand new versus or lease in the case of a high mileage driver. It comes up again versus leftovers and current model year units. If you compare the net dollars, the late model used could be a big dollar advantage 4 to 5 years from now. It won't matter that you bought it used. Nope. Same scenarios as I mentioned before, which you have a 2-year-old used, a 1-year-old leftover, and a new one. So the 1-year-old leftover is about $25,000. 5 years from now, it's worth 20%, $5,000. $2,500 less than the new leftover example, but it has $6,000 less to begin with. So you paid $6,000 less for the used one, right? 2-year-old. Worth less at the end, but you paid $6,000 less. That's a lot lower payment, a lot less interest, a lot less. That's about $500 in sales tax. So it really gives it about a $3,000 advantage. I mean, you may end up doing an additional oil change or putting tires on it sooner because it's used, but not $3,500 worth of stuff, that's for sure. It would even be bigger difference on a current model year. It would make a big difference. Let's get back to the main topic. The timing key for all of this is the end of the model year. That's when 2-year-old used are available. That's when leftovers are there. That's when the new models come out, September-ish, October-ish, in that area. What about when shouldn't you buy a vehicle? That's something that comes up. Some people say when a model is in high demand or limited production, don't buy it. Usually in very popular models, you might even do better with a leftover or a late model used because they have the highest resale percentage, so the difference in percentage at the end is less. So you at the end of 5 years on a vehicle you bought 2 years old with a high, really high demand vehicle like an Accord, the difference between a brand new one and that 2-year-old one 5 years from now isn't going to be that much, not as much as if it would normally be for other vehicles. In the not so popular models, vehicles don't have that good resale, don't have that great reputation. It's hard to figure out, but usually the new model works out way better. Resale has so much to do with it, right? Some sources believe that when not to buy is the beginning of the model year. I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all because the resale percentage based on time will be better for the fresh units. It's always going to sell better. You take a fresh model, just came out, a year from now, it's still selling, they're still selling that new one. You buy a leftover a year from now it's really a used vehicle. It's not competing with the other new ones they're still selling. You just have to shop a little harder if you want to go with a new one, especially right now. There aren't a lot of times when you should not buy. Now is one of those times, though, unless you absolutely must. Usually there are mostly times when you should because of an advantage. Read about the models available and the new stuff for the model year. Look as many reviews as you can find before you go buy something. Now's got a good time, though. Wait a year. Prices are crazy on new, they're crazy on used. Sure, you get more for your trade, but it's a big deal. It cancels out because you have to pay more for the new one, more than you would have. It's about a wash, so I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't buy for a year. When a new regime hits, it's going to make a big difference. You watch. What about time of year for leasing? Always go with the current model year. Look in Consumer Report yearly editions for ratings first. Read online. Maybe get Google alerts from models you're considering and check the calendar for purchase. Like if let's say you needed a vehicle today. Well, you could wait until Sunday maybe. Or you could wait until, going on Monday afternoon. Or you could wait till a really hot day in a parking lot if you lived in the South. That would be your advantages. I like leasing. Leasing's almost always better with a new model year vehicle. We talked about it in many episodes. When the official announcement day comes, go with the newer model for a lease, not the leftover. Always the newer model. Payment will be better. Always, the whole thing will be better. Other than announcement time, the timing advantage for leasing are the same as buying. Because to a dealer, it's the same thing as selling. To them, it's just another sale. How you buy it, just only advantages for you. Not right now, though. Right now, it's not going to work out, but it's not going to be like this. It happened before. The market's going to change back. One other advantage to leasing, is the resale possibilities, although they're on hold right now, like I said, but that's another advantage. So when the market straightens out, you want to get back to considering leasing. I like the 3-year lease. I've done tons of them, and I think they're a great investment. I didn't. I bought my vehicle this time because the market's stupid. I'm not paying those crazy prices. No, I'll just wait with the car I have. I bought out my lease, and I'll just wait till the market changes. I'm not going to be a fool about it. Nope, there's no rush. Now, if you have to buy, you have to buy. You have to find a way around it. There's still ways you can get a deal. You can buy a used car from an individual. A lot of times they're not roast beefed. There's things you can do. You can go outside of your market, out into the country. Find a used car dealer out in the country, maybe. Other than announcement time, the timing advantages for leasing just the same. That's the point I was trying to make. One other advantage to leasing is the resale possibilities, which are on hold right now, but normally that's a big thing. I could have made $5,000 on my lease when it came to the end, but I would have had to spend $5,000 more than the next one I bought, so I didn't do it. But that's always the case. You can always make a couple thousand. You take care of your vehicle, it's always worth more. If resale doesn't work out for any other reasons I've talked about, you can just turn it in and walk away. That's the other side of it. That's another beauty to leasing. That's a huge peace of mind. No question about it. But that's timing in a nutshell. Those are things you can do. It doesn't sound like an important subject sometimes, but believe it can make a big difference. The last day of the month, I'm telling you can squeeze a dealer. I don't care what month it is. There's some months better than others, but the last day of the month or the first day of the month can be big factors. After bad weather, after a storm, after all types of things. Any big news that keeps people in their house, you can go out and you can make a better deal. They're more stressed. They got to make that money. They got to sell those vehicles. They got to move them. Take advantage of it. Well, that's Deal Talk for this week. If you have a question or request or even a comment, please call or email me. Any comments at all, please do. Please say something. Callers dial 407-801-4071. That's 407-801-4071. Or you can just email me at dealtalkpodcast@gmail.com. That's dealtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Please don't forget to do a review and do yourself a favor by getting a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon or Nook. It's worth it. For $3, come on, think about it. Can't be getting rich on that, right? Like I mentioned before, tell your friends and your relatives. They'll save big, and they'll thank you for it. And everybody's always looking for a way to save some money. However it can help you, contact me, and you'll hear from me. And remember, every payment you get, you go to a dealer, you get a payment, be sure that it's CPI, complete payment information. Make sure it includes the amount that he's financing, the number of months, the interest rate, and any required down payment by you to get to that number. And if you're just going to buy and you're going to get your own financing and you're just going to get a price, make sure that the price includes every single cost required to buy the vehicle. Tax, tag, dealer fee options, every single cost. Don't let them say, oh, such and such plus fees. No. What is the total bottom line, the total thing? I want the OTD out the door.